It all started with a tremor, not one that shook the earth, but one that shook the very foundation of our reality. On August 6, 2025, a date now seared into global memory. Every major news network broke away from scheduled programming. The screen flickered to a live, raw feed from a small, windswept island off the coast of Nova Scotia. There, standing amidst floodlights that cut through the twilight, were Rick and Marty Lagina. Their faces, etched with a mixture of exhaustion and pure, unadulterated awe, told a story more profound than any treasure they had ever hoped to find. The world leaned in, phones were silenced, and the collective breath of billions was held in suspense. This was it, the moment that centuries of searching had led to. The announcement was simple, yet it carried the weight of ages. "We found it," Marty Lagina said, his voice cracking with emotion. Behind him, a massive, reinforced steel door stood ajar, leading into the darkness of the earth. For over 2 centuries, the Oak Island mystery had been a puzzle box of false bottoms, booby traps, and heartbreaking dead ends. But what they had uncovered was something far beyond the scope of any legend. It wasn't just treasure. It was a library of humanity's forgotten past, a truth vault sealed away from the world for reasons we were only beginning to comprehend. Descending into the vault was like stepping out of time itself. The team described a sudden drop in temperature and a strange silence that swallowed all sound. The chamber, later measured to be a perfect cube 50 feet on each side, was carved from a material geologists are still struggling to identify. It resembles obsidian, but is harder than diamond, and feels strangely warm to the touch. There are no visible seams or joints in its construction, suggesting it was either formed from a single, massive block or created with a technology far beyond our understanding. The layout was deliberate, almost ceremonial. In the center of the room stood a large circular platform made of the same black material. Upon it rested a single, breathtaking object, a celestial map. But this was no ordinary star chart. It was a 3-dimensional orb of what looked like captured starlight, with constellations and galaxies swirling within a crystalline sphere. The most shocking part? It depicted our solar system with astounding accuracy, but also showed 2 additional planets beyond Neptune, as well as detailed renderings of moons we've only just begun to explore with probes. It was a map made by someone who had seen the cosmos from a perspective we could only dream of. The most profound discovery, however, was the source of the room's faint, ambient light. The ceiling was not solid, but was composed of a mosaic of glowing crystals. These crystals pulsed in a slow, rhythmic cadence, almost like a heartbeat. Early analysis suggests they react to specific sound frequencies, brightening and dimming in response to human speech. It was as if the room itself was alive, a sentient library waiting for a reader. The team reported a feeling of being watched, not in a menacing way, but with a sense of ancient, patient intelligence. The artifacts themselves are where the story truly shatters our timeline. Among the most mystifying objects are a series of 13 crystal skulls, but unlike the controversial ones we know, these are different. Spectrographic analysis shows they are not carved at all. Instead, they were grown, molecule by molecule, with an internal structure that acts as a sophisticated data storage device. When exposed to specific light frequencies, they project holographic images, not of aliens or gods, but of what appear to be historical events. We've seen images that look like the construction of the Giza pyramids, but with workers levitating massive stone blocks into place. We've seen gatherings of people from every corner of the ancient world, Norse, Egyptian, Mayan, and Chinese, all meeting peacefully in a city of impossible architecture. Then there are the scrolls. They aren't made of papyrus or vellum, but of a flexible, paper-thin sheet of metal that is virtually indestructible. The language etched onto their surfaces is completely unknown, yet it seems to be a root of many ancient languages. It contains elements of Proto-Sanskrit, ancient Hebrew, and even Norse runes, yet it predates them all. Linguists are calling it the Edenic language, a theoretical proto-language that was once thought to be a myth. The scrolls don't contain religious scripture in the way we know it. They are scientific texts, detailing advanced principles of physics, astronomy, and biology that we are only just discovering today. They contain the formula for what appears to be clean, limitless energy. Perhaps the most challenging artifacts are the biological ones. Encased in transparent stasis pods are samples of DNA, but it's not just human DNA. The sequences show a common ancestor for all life on Earth, but with a clear artificial marker embedded within the code. It's a signature, a kind of genetic copyright tag. Renowned geneticists like Dr. Evelyn Reed have gone on record stating that it looks like our entire biosphere was seeded, or at the very least edited by an intelligent hand. Finally, there's the heart of the vault, a small, perfectly smooth stone that hovers an inch above its pedestal, spinning slowly. It emits no detectable energy field, yet it defies gravity. It doesn't respond to magnets or any other force we've applied, it simply floats, an elegant and silent defiance of known physics. Dr. Eris Thorne, a leading theoretical physicist, called it the single most important object ever recovered by humanity. He believes it's a key, a device that operates on principles we haven't even conceived of yet. The academic world was thrown into absolute chaos. History departments at universities from Oxford to Harvard held emergency sessions, trying to process the initial data streams coming from Nova Scotia. The first wave was disbelief, with many tenured professors dismissing it as an elaborate, well-funded hoax. But as the evidence mounted, peer-reviewed spectrographic data, carbon dating that yielded impossible results, and high-resolution imagery, the denial quickly crumbled, replaced by a frantic scramble to understand. The established timeline of human civilization was not just challenged, it was obliterated. Historians who had built their careers on specific narratives found their life's work rendered instantly obsolete. The prevailing theory of civilization beginning in Mesopotamia around 4000 BCE was shattered. The artifacts clearly pointed to a globally connected, technologically advanced society that existed tens of thousands of years earlier. Dr. Kenja Sharma, a leading expert on Indus Valley civilization, was one of the first to embrace the new reality. "We've always seen anomalies," she stated in a now famous interview, "out-of-place artifacts, myths of a golden age. We dismissed them as fantasy. We were wrong. We weren't looking at the dawn of man, but at the survivors of something much, much older." The field of archaeology is undergoing a painful but necessary rebirth. Archaeologists are now re-examining sites across the globe, looking at them not as the start of something new, but as the faint echoes of something ancient and far more advanced. The very questions they ask have changed. From how did they build this, to what technology did they inherit? The greatest challenge for academics is the sheer humility the discovery demands. It forces an entire intellectual tradition to admit that it was, in large part, wrong. It means acknowledging that ancient myths, of Atlantis, of a great flood, of sky gods, may have been factual accounts, not allegories. It requires a new kind of historian, one who is part scientist, part linguist, and part mythologist. The ivory tower has been shaken to its core, and its residents are now faced with the monumental task of rewriting every history book on the planet. The world's religious institutions were rocked by the discovery in a way that no scientific breakthrough ever had before. The Vatican, usually measured and slow in its responses, convened an emergency council within days. The initial unofficial statements were a mix of cautious curiosity and deep-seated concern. The artifacts didn't directly contradict the existence of God, but they offered a narrative of human origins that was radically different from the Book of Genesis. The idea of humanity being a seeded or engineered species by an ancient, advanced civilization was seen by some as a profound theological threat. Was this civilization God, or were they merely messengers, an earlier creation? The questions echoed through the ancient halls of St. Peter's Basilica. In Jerusalem, leaders from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam found themselves in a rare, unspoken alliance of bewilderment. The metallic scrolls with their Edenic language seemed to point to a common pre-Abrahamic root for all their traditions, yet it was a root grounded in science and cosmic observation, not divine revelation as they knew it.
One prominent rabbi noted, "The Torah tells of beings who came down and walked among men. We have long interpreted this spiritually. Perhaps we should have taken it more literally."
The discovery forced a re-evaluation of sacred texts, with scholars now searching for clues of this lost civilization hidden within their verses, which now read less like parables and more like fragmented historical records. The reaction from Eastern religions was, in many ways, more adaptive. Buddhist and Hindu scholars pointed to their own ancient texts, which speak of yugas, great cycles of time, and of previous advanced civilizations, or manvantaras.
A respected lama from Tibet was quoted as saying, "We have always known that this is not the first story of humanity. The universe is vast and old, and consciousness wears many forms. This discovery does not diminish the divine. It expands our understanding of its methods."
Ultimately, the discovery has sparked a global spiritual crisis, but also a new form of dialogue. For the first time, faith leaders are being forced to contend with tangible, physical evidence that challenges their foundational stories. But for most, it has opened the door to a deeper, more complex understanding of faith. It suggests that science and spirituality may not be opposing forces, but rather two different languages attempting to describe the same awe-inspiring truth. The question is no longer do you believe, but what are we a part of? The news spread not like a wildfire, but like a global tidal wave. In the first 24 hours, Oak Island was the most searched term in internet history. Social media platforms were just flooded with a torrent of awe, speculation, and raw emotion. People shared grainy screenshots from the live broadcast with captions like, "Everything has changed, and history is a lie." Memes, theories, and debates erupted in every language, uniting people across cultural and political divides in a shared sense of wonder. For a brief, shimmering moment, the world's usual conflicts and anxieties were forgotten, replaced by a universal fascination with this single, earth-shattering revelation. Global markets reacted with unprecedented volatility. Technology and aerospace stocks soared on the speculation of new energy sources and physical principles, while traditional energy sectors plummeted. Governments scrambled to form special committees and international consortiums to manage the discovery. The United Nations held an emergency session, with world leaders delivering speeches that were, honestly, uncharacteristically humble and reflective. The President of the United States called it a discovery not for one nation, but for all humankind, while the Chinese premier spoke of it as a chance to learn from our ancestors and build a unified future. The public reaction was deeply personal. People saw the news and felt a profound shift within themselves. The mundane worries of daily life suddenly seemed small in the face of such a vast new reality. There were reports of spontaneous gatherings in public squares, not for protests, but for quiet discussion and stargazing. The discovery reawakened a sense of mystery and possibility that modern life had largely suppressed. It was a reminder that we are part of a story far grander and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The world felt bigger, older, and infinitely more interesting than it had the day before. Of course, the revelation also gave rise to a darker undercurrent of fear and exploitation. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, suggesting governments were hiding the real truth. Fringe groups tried to claim the artifacts as their own sacred property. There was an immediate and intense debate over who should control the vault and its contents. Should it be Canada, an international body, the Lagina brothers themselves? The discovery didn't just unearth ancient artifacts. It unearthed our most modern anxieties about power, control, and trust. The whole world was now part of the Oak Island team, grappling with the immense responsibility of this newfound knowledge. The discovery at Oak Island did more than just add a new chapter to our history books. It took a sledgehammer to the pillars supporting the entire structure of Western civilization. The core belief in a linear upward progression, from the darkness of the medieval period to the light of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, has been revealed as a comforting but fundamentally incorrect story. We now know that an incredibly advanced, globally connected civilization existed long before Plato ever pondered the nature of the Republic. This earlier society possessed scientific knowledge that we are only now beginning to rediscover, suggesting our modern era is not a pinnacle of achievement, but a recovery from a forgotten apocalypse. This revelation forces a complete reevaluation of our cultural heroes and foundational myths. The greatness of Rome, the wisdom of the Greeks, the ingenuity of the Egyptians, these are no longer seen as revolutionary beginnings. Instead, they appear to be echoes, fragmented memories of a far more sophisticated parent culture. Our entire concept of discovery has been turned on its head. Did Columbus discover America? Or did he follow ancient maps that showed a well-known route? Did Newton discover gravity? Or did he decipher a fragment of a much older, more complete physical theory? The scrolls in the vault contain mathematical equations that form the basis of quantum mechanics and relativity, suggesting that Einstein and Planck were not pioneers, but rediscoverers. The most profound challenge is to our sense of identity. Western civilization has long defined itself by its unique achievements, its science, its philosophy, its democratic ideals. But if these are not unique at all, if they are merely an inheritance from a forgotten global ancestry, then who are we? The discovery erases the lines between East and West, between ancient and modern. It suggests we are all part of one single continuous human story that is far older and more complex than we ever dared to believe. The pillars of our worldview have not just crumbled, they have dissolved, revealing a much larger and more intricate foundation beneath. The implications of the Oak Island Vault extend far beyond the rewriting of history books. They provide a new map for the future of human civilization itself. The technologies hinted at in the metallic scrolls and artifacts offer potential solutions to our most pressing global crises. The formula for clean zero-point energy could end our dependence on fossil fuels, halting climate change and revolutionizing every industry on the planet. This new map also redefines our place in the universe. The celestial orb in the center of the vault, with its depiction of a 12-planet solar system, confirms that we are not alone in our cosmic neighborhood, at least in terms of planetary bodies. It ignites the search for extraterrestrial life with a renewed, almost certain fervor. The discovery forces us to see ourselves not as the sole masters of a single planet, but as part of a much larger cosmic story. The discovery also presents a profound ethical and social roadmap. The society that built the vault was clearly global, collaborative, and non-militaristic. There were no weapons found within its walls. It was a civilization based on the preservation of knowledge and the harmony of life, a stark contrast to our own history of conflict, division, and conquest. This serves as a powerful and humbling lesson. It suggests that the path to true advancement lies not in technological power alone, but in wisdom, cooperation, and a deep respect for the interconnectedness of all things. We have been handed a model of a successful global society. The challenge is whether we can live up to it. This map for the future requires a fundamental shift in our consciousness. We must move from a mindset of scarcity and competition to one of abundance and collaboration. We must learn to think not as members of a nation or a creed, but as members of a single human family with a shared, astonishing history. The Vault's creators left us more than just technology. They left us a message of hope. They showed us what humanity is capable of when it is unified and enlightened. The path forward is clear, marked on a map written in a language of stars and science. The journey is up to us. We now stand at a precipice, looking out over a landscape of history that is both terrifyingly new and profoundly ancient. The Oak Island discovery of 2025 is not an ending. It is a beginning. It is the moment our species collectively woke up from a long, troubled sleep to find that the world is infinitely more magical and mysterious than we had allowed ourselves to believe. The certainties of the 20th century have evaporated in the light of this new knowledge, and we are once again explorers on an unknown sea, armed with a map that leads to both our past and our future. The age of information has given way to the age of revelation. This new era will be defined by questions, not answers. Every field of human endeavor, from science to art to spirituality, has been revitalized with a renewed sense of purpose. We have been reminded that the greatest frontier is not outer space, but our own history, and that the greatest treasures are not gold and silver, but knowledge and wisdom. The hunt for answers has united us in a common noble quest. The children born today will grow up in a world without the old historical boundaries. They will learn of the great ancient civilization as fact. They will see the world not as a collection of disparate cultures, but as the scattered inheritors of a single, magnificent legacy. Their dreams will be bigger, their sense of possibility boundless. They will be the generation that truly harnesses the Vault's secrets, to heal our planet, to reach for the stars, and to build a society worthy of our incredible origins. And so the adventure continues. The drill has broken through. The vault is open. But the real work, the real expedition, has just begun. It is a journey we will all take together, into the heart of the greatest mystery of all, ourselves. What we have found on Oak Island is more than just the story of a lost civilization. We have found the missing pages of our own story. And as we begin to read them, we feel a sense of profound and thrilling hope. For we have learned that our past is greater than we knew, which means our future is brighter than we can possibly imagine. The treasure of Oak Island was never about the past. It was always about the future. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.